Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing my third round game from the 2025 Midwest Open. If you did not see my last video, I did end up losing my second round game, so for the third round, I was 1-1, and my opponent for the third round, I was very happy to play Cheuk, because he beat me at the last Midwest Open last year, and if I remember correctly, actually placed third overall in the Masters division. So not only did I want to beat somebody who placed last year, but also I wanted to get back the win he had on me, because I first played Cheuk at the 2023 Go Congress. That's when we first met, and we played in the Open there, and I ended up winning that round. And so last year when we played, he beat me, so we were 1-1. So this was also the third game in our personal series to see who would get the upper hand. So I was very excited for this game. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in. Yes, so played there. Yep. And in this game, I'm black. My opponent's white. And we get something kind of strange. This by itself is not strange. I was just expecting a continuation, but white actually went elsewhere, which I thought was very strange. I've always been taught that you can't play this way as white. Because if we do Tawari and white starts with this, and then let's say black goes here, white would never then play here, because black can just connect under. So he said it's playable, which I believe him. I just never seen it before. I think locally here, with these two stones in the lower left, I should play a more offensive move than just connecting under, but I was still happy with connecting under. This feels okay for me. So white pincers, and here normally when white plays the kick and then the one space jump, the one space jump, as opposed to the third line variant of the knight's move, puts more pressure on the two stones. So normally that means, okay, I have to do more to help these two stones. But in the game, I still pincered here. And the reason for that is if I were to jump out, this would be the way to jump out. We in fact see this move in the game. White would somehow continue on the bottom, even though black gets this tiger's mouth. If white just jumps back like this, white's very comfortable here. And now I have these three stones just kind of floating, and I'll have to find a way to use them. Like I can't really attack white on the bottom now. Like there's some cuts here, but the overall group is safe. So I need to get this move to keep white weak on the bottom, so that if white were to jump out now, then I can still jump out with white. I think here, though, white playing elsewhere felt strange. Like so far, white had two moves that already, like two tenukis, I should say, that felt strange. First, this one, and then this one. Because in this one, we have a fight on the bottom. We have white group, black group, white group, black group, white stone, black group, right? So whoever gets the first move here is in a big advantage, has a big advantage. So yeah, I'm not so sure about white playing 017 right now. Now, if maybe white doesn't know what white wants, but here, clearly the left side is what white would want. So I think even if white plays something like this, to really put pressure on the black stones, like it's not like I'm going to ignore this to play 017. Like white surrounding like this would be so nice. And if I continue, white can always continue too. So yeah, like this fight here would favor black, or would favor white, I mean, because of the stone at f7. So yeah, I'm not so sure about going elsewhere here, because I just ignore. And now white's a move behind. So now if white tries to activate j4, white's going to be a move behind now. So yeah, so white's placed here. And I looked at this quickly, I didn't like the Aji it left here, but even if I just leave it, or it'll just become the game, really. Just my shape's a lot better. Or not the game per se, but what should have happened in the game. Or if I played correctly, a better result in the game. Because in the game I do this, and when we get to this, I should play N3. I should play N3. But if we compare the two, comparing this one to getting this move, my shape in the corner is a lot nicer. So, yeah, this was a mixture of playing too fast, although I did think quite a bit on this move, but maybe just... The main thing was I did not see N3 in either case. Which, looking back, it's like, how did you not see that? It looks like a pretty nice move to get, so yes. So I just connect, though. And then, again, here, I should still just play here. Because if white Ataris, it doesn't really help white. If white cuts and descends, doesn't really help white. Now, white has a nice move here, and this is good to know, of O3. O3 threatens to capture the 2, just like P2 does, but obviously is also threatening this N3 stone. So if I answer here, of course, then these 2 stones get captured. So I still have to play R2. But again, even here, if white just Hanes, there's no real danger. If white clamps, I can just descend, and white can't cut me. If white stands up, this might be even, but I would be able to capture the lower right in this kind of position. In the game, like I'd prefer this than what happens in the game. I'll say that, or I'll put it that way. Because in the game, when I just descend, the other nice thing about getting N3 is when white plays here, I did not have a great response. At least I couldn't find one. This hits the weakness of my stone, or it more so just threatens to connect, or threatens to activate J4. And so if I'm able to get this move, then J4 is still kind of inactive for now. Because if you don't know, this move threatens to connect under at L3. Start to connect under at least. So if I, let's say, jump, this would be the natural move. Well, white can just Hane, and any direction I pick here is not going to be a great result. Even if I can end up capturing the 2, white's going to get a lot of forcing moves. Like that's forcing, cutting, Atarying. Like this group on the right is basically alive, and these 2 stones here still have a lot of Aji. Obviously, there's still the Atari here, and I would just get reduced by too much here. But I can't just go down, something like this, because then white... Yeah, white can actually still just play on top, potentially. Or play cap, maybe. Or even just leave it. And this stone at L3 is just inefficient. So, yeah, I wasn't sure what to do. So I kind of had to bite the bullet and bump here to jump. Because, again, I didn't want to bump the other way. Yeah, I didn't want to bump the other way because even if white answers and I answer back, I've actually reduced myself, believe it or not. So, yeah. So I want to bump, even though it makes white a little bit stronger here. White's technically not fully alive, and that's why white adds a stone. But now we go back to what's so nice about G7 is that it has a nice follow-up. And especially now that I have some resemblance of a Moyo, let's say, some territory there, I can shoulder hit. And so actually I think white has time to play here right now, because there's a connection problem for black on the bottom. So if I have to play a move like this one, or even just shoulder hit, then this is a good exchange. I can even play this one, but see, white's getting a lot on the side all of a sudden. So, and if I go elsewhere, then white can play this shoulder hit / knight's move, and yeah, just be able to separate, really. Something like this. There's going to be some sort of Seki, aka black's points going bye-bye, so not good. So I think white had actually a chance to play this diagonal. The white goes there. So shoulder hit. And again, shoulder hit is pretty much sente. So white answers, and I just extend. Yeah, normally I would play this kind of move. But again, because of the aji here, like this, white actually has this double peep here. So, yeah, I obviously couldn't let that happen. Or I felt that at least. So I just extend. And this felt okay, though, because as long as what you're... Even though I'm giving white fourth line territory, if what you're getting on the other side is worth more, it's good to do this. Or it's okay to do this. Now, white should just add a move. And it comes back to... If you watch specifically a lot of my handicap game videos, you hear me talk about don't getting sealed into the corners, and I often say, like, oh, it's true in your even games too, and this is the perfect example. When white plays this move, all of a sudden the left side, well, first off, the corner in the lower left is now completely safe. There's no problem. But more importantly, the left side now has a lot of potential. If I go elsewhere, and let's say white does something like this, the left side is huge, just in 2 moves, just by getting these 2 moves. But the moment I'm able to turn here, which I get a chance to play, white invades, play here, yep. And you can leave it here, so I ignore. All of a sudden, the left side is gone for white. The left side is gone for white. And we even see that white didn't like me getting this move because white doesn't even answer in the upper right. White answers at c14 because white felt, okay, if I cut or do something, you extending here, jumping down is hard to ignore with the corner being so open. All of a sudden, the left side is huge for black. So, or even if black just immediately jumps here. So, yeah, white needed this move. White needed this move. Now, I get white's thinking of, okay, I initially played 017 and black has ignored me, so I want to get my follow-up, and I get that reasoning too, but in this case, getting sealed into the lower left is too big. So white does go there. And then I extend here. And white jumps. This is okay. Usually what I've seen is white will extend once. And black will play here. And white will turn. And then black will connect. And then white will jump. And the idea here is white will somehow get surrounded. Usually it starts with this move. And if white descends, the key is with this move being sente, basically always, black can start to surround with M15. Like if white jumps here, push, and cover like this, white's going to get surrounded somehow. But even if you leave it at this point, these 3 stones have a lot more aji than if we get this shape. Technically, there's still some aji here, but if you compare this position, the entire black set of stones here can get cut off or can get captured. But here, you might be able to capture some stones, but the majority of the stones, or some of the stones, will not get captured. And that actually comes up in the game. So we'll look at that when it comes. But yeah, white just extends, then I extend. And again, I think white can go all the way because there is aji still with 017. If I have to, sorry, maybe this one, but either way, play this one, jump, and then descend back. Yeah, that seems okay for white. If black comes in, you can bump here. And that's what the purpose of a move at K17 or K16 is looking at, is to play N17. So white just lets me extend. And me and my opponent, we looked at this game after. And this was a moment where actually both of us, like specifically me here when I went here, and then white on this move, is we were like, what do we do here? What do we do? The right side's not that valuable. The left side's not that valuable. We've taken up the corners for the most part. There's some aji in the upper left, but what do we do here? And this is a very difficult position because all the groups are safe. Again, all the corners are taken. There's not really much going on, so it's hard to decide what to do here. So yeah, white ended up choosing this. This is huge. I do agree with white. I think I should descend first. This is very hard to ignore, especially after getting d8. There's just way too much aji at c3, like so. The benefit of white actually making this exchange, though, is now I've created a connection underneath. And so, for example, when white goes here and extends, this is less forcing. So I think white's idea was, if white started this way, I could respond by playing at f2. I could respond by playing at f2. And if white has to answer, then I got both. I got both moves. So I think white just said, okay, since this is sente, f2 is sente for both of us, I'll just take that and then keep reducing. This shoulder hit's probably fine, but definitely extending once more is too slow. You can just see how over-concentrated white is, especially when after this, white is pretty much totally alive, especially when you can connect back to the right side or Hane at m3. This lower right white group, lower right white group is okay. So that's why I think white should, if white wants to kind of activate j4 a little bit and reduce black, white should play a little lighter. Where if I try to cut it off, it actually won't work out that well. So yeah, just Hane, and yeah, white will be okay here. So yeah, white extends though, and now black has sente. And so before I show you black's next move, this is a concept I continuously tell all my students about and often say in my videos, is shapes that work in one position generally also work in another position. So for example, we see it in this game. Normally you see it like in this kind of shape. If we look at the upper side, once you get invaded like this, you can start to connect by playing on top. When you have this 3-space knights move and your opponent is in the middle of it, you can start to connect by playing h16. And so take this shape and look at it, transform it, look at it in the lower right. This is the same shape. We have a 3-space extension or 3-space knights move. So I'm able to start to connect back. Again, I say start to because you're not fully connected yet, but you can start to connect back. So using that same logic, and let's say I want to play somewhere on the top, using that same logic, where do you think black can go? If you guessed e18, you are correct. Notice how this is creating that 3-space knights move. And that means I am threatening to start to connect under. And so if white prevents that somehow, I'm able to play the 3-3. So in this position here, and this is true for all invasions, whenever you have any sort of invasion, you need to have options of life or to escape. And so in this position, black has 3 options of living or escaping. And so 3 options is the best. 3 options is a valid invasion if you want to make it. Again, sometimes you don't need to invade or want to invade, but if you do, it's a valid invasion. So if you have 3 options, that's good. That's the best. If you have 2, that's playable, but not great. And it's because if your opponent takes 1, you have to take the other. Whereas in this case, if your opponent takes 1, you still have other options. If you have only 1 place to live or run out to, that's not good because your opponent can just get rid of it. And so here, black can connect under, black can play the 3-3, or black can run out in this direction. And so if white takes 1, black has opportunities to play the others. So, yeah. Let's see. Go. So, yeah, it's why actually white, instead of playing somewhere in the center, white should do something up top. Like for example, if white plays here, that has gotten rid of one of the options, right? And so if I try to invade now, like so, I can't go underneath anymore, right? So that's not an option anymore. So I can go in this direction and maybe this direction, but as we can see, white can choose which one I have to take. And so if white gets rid of this one by playing somewhere like here, now I can only run out in one direction. And here we can see that's a pretty small space to run out with. So yeah, I can't knights move, I get cut off. I can't really do this one. because the cut doesn't really work well. So yeah, that's why white should really play a move like this. Now it does strengthen my top side, but the corner is going to be worth more in a lot of cases. In this case, it's definitely true. Now again, what that also means is black isn't going to play the same move, of course. There's Aji with other moves to play. So it's not a complete solution, but I would be trying to find some way to solidify the corner in Sente. Another option white can look at is either this shoulder hit to look for this attachment, or this shoulder hit to look for this attachment. Again, reducing black's top side while trying to solidify the corner. That is what white is trying to accomplish here. So I'm able to play under, white plays here, and I push once, of course, and then I can play G18. And so I've been saying you can start to connect, because technically it's not always a clean connection, but in this case, like if white tries to disconnect, we would get some sort of ko here, like so. And this ko, the problem with this ko for white is white doesn't actually have that many ko threats, whereas black, for instance, let's say, oh, I don't know. I don't even know what a good ko threat might look like for white. Let's just say this is a threat, right? Black has to connect somehow. Black has so many threats here, right? All these moves here, not only this threat, but this threat, and this threat, and this threat, and yeah. There's a lot of threats there for black. And not only that, but also moves here are co-threats, because again the corner has to stay alive. So yeah, lots of co-threats for black. So it's an unwinnable ko for white. So I understand what white does here. White leaves it for now, because white's saying, okay, right now I can't win the ko, but maybe later I can. So white leaves it for now and pushes here. Again, maybe creating some co-threats, maybe creating some Aji, Hane. And here I'm like, okay, so I could just stand up, but pushing against probably Sente, and then white actually gets a lot on the right side, like so. Very quickly all of a sudden. Like before the right side was not valuable, because if white did that immediately, then I would just push white down, and that's not really worth a lot. You can just see the difference here. Just see how much more white gets. So I double Hane. And what I found pretty humorous about this is this exact position. A couple of my students, not just one, but a couple of my students or friends at the tournament asked me about this position in between their rounds. So it was so coincidental that the exact thing that I was helping my students with and my friends with was this exact thing. And their question was, I know playing O18 is better than P17, but this cut at P17 always brings trouble to my stones. And basically what I told them was, those 3 stones are not always valuable. If the board has changed, those 3 stones can become worth less. Not worthless, but they can be worth less. So yeah, so I just double Hane here, saying, okay, if you extend, your right side is never going to be as big as my top. And so here, white cuts here. And this is good order of moves, actually. This is very good order of moves. Because if white let's say white, it's hard to explain without showing a ton of variations. But basically what happens in the game is I bump here, white cuts, and then white captures the 3 like so. So what happens if white, let's say white cuts here first, right? If white cuts there first, this actually just doesn't work for white. I'm able to Atari here. And even though you get the squeeze, you can't Hane here because you get captured, and you can't really run out because even though my shape is horrible, your shape is actually worse because you have less liberties. So that doesn't work, okay? But okay, what if I play a different move? Like for example, in this variation, I end up playing P16. So what if I play P16 when white cuts like this? Well, now white can turn. And turning changes everything, because if I block like this, Atari, Atari, connect, or sorry, yeah, connect. Now, black's actually weaker now because white has now gotten the first move into the center. And so this dumpling here is so heavy for black. And you can see now black's top is reduced to third line. So that won't be good for black. So it's a good order of moves for white. And if I fix here, then of course you can capture the 2 stones here. But here, again, the 3 stones aren't always valuable, so I just give them up and play f17. And f17 is such a big move, because, for example, white could, because while there is Aji for a ko, right, with this variation here, there's Aji of a ko, there's also Aji, or not even Aji, but just white can make these exchanges here. White can bump here, or I guess technically peep here at f18. Black basically has to connect. Then white can play here, connect, Hane. Even black double Hanes, Atari, and jump. Look how much white has reduced the top by so much. So imagine white could do this all in Sente. And so black being able to get this move here, while it is go take, got rid of white's huge Sente. And now the top is very solid. It's very, very solid. And then white plays this move. And on the surface, this move might look pretty strange, but once you dissect it, it's actually a very reasonable move. I think there's better ways for white to handle it, but this move by itself is very reasonable. Why? Because if white goes elsewhere, like let's say white goes here, let's say push, extend. Let's say black gets this move, right? This move is actually threatening the upper left corner. If white ignores, black can clamp here. Black can clamp here. With the idea being, if you let me connect under, your entire group is now not alive. It's not alive. But if you try to disconnect, we get back to that 3-space knights move. Black can play b16, and notice c12 is in the perfect spot to start to connect. But this move is also threatening to cut at c17. So everything is working for black. So if white wedges, you just connect back. And this now is going to... You're not technically going to connect back if white hanes. You don't need to fight this ko. What you can do, though, is make the tiger's mouth, and if white connects, break through, white has 2 weak groups. And your group is, while also weak, when your opponent has 2, it's going to be better for you. So, yeah, that is just going to be too bad for white. And if white tries to refute by playing this one, this tries to prevent both. You can play here in Sente, you can push, and if white blocks, you can actually just push and cut. And white actually has less liberties than you do. So, yeah, this is too dangerous for white. All right, even you can jump here. If white wedging means you can connect. If white blocks, you're actually just alive in the corner. You've taken out the entire corner. So, yeah, and now white needs to live on the outside, which is hard to do. So that's why white played the move white played here. But I think white had a better way to play. And again, it comes back to the top becoming huge, as white can still just hane. If black cuts, you just give it up and extend like this. And this stone here is not valuable anymore, so you can just give it up like so. And yeah, this would be so much more efficient than white's move. White's move in the game does, I'll say, 1.5 things. Like, this prevents all the things on the left or the upper left, but it does mean moves like b8 start to make a left side all of a sudden. So it's not a one-dimensional move per se, but I really want to do this one. It reduces the top while also helping my upper left. So I just jump. And all of a sudden, my top side is getting quite big. White even double hanes. And I just Atari, and push. And I'm like, well, even if you get the right side, isn't my top just so big? And so I think white did it this way to get this peep. But the problem is, when I Atari here, now white's right side is reduced by quite a bit already. Because if you block here, I can just extend. But if you try to extend, then I can always just Atari down, or even I think this move works. So Yeah, there's no great way to now build the right side all of a sudden. So I think instead, I think white should play a lot lighter here. So I think white should just play a move like this. Yeah, I think white should just play a move like this. It's very light. If I play something on the right side, then white can keep coming in. If I block, then this is already a good enough exchange, or even if white turns here, this is quite nice. If I try to fight, though, white can just play lightly. White can just, like, jump here, and you can just see I just can't really separate. If I try to be super aggressive, you see it's just not gonna... White is just so light here. So I think white was trying to create a weakness by creating this cutting point here to peep, but in the process made me a lot stronger. So yeah, so white plays here. And so this is a very important part in the game here. Basically everything so far has mattered, but this is kind of the crux of the game right here. And so the question is, how do you attack this stone? So always remember, when your opponent is invading you, you want to look for nearby stones that you can lean on and get forcing moves. So for example, if I just answer locally like this, white's going to jump. Let's say I go here. All of a sudden, I have to separate still. White's just going to start connecting back easily. And even if I separate white, like all of a sudden, white's actually just taken out all my points. I have nothing. All my last moves were worth no points. They were all dame. So that's what happens if you respond locally. But remember, while shoulder hits are usually sente, when you have this much strength, you want to try not answering kind of normally, I should say. And so just standing up here would not be good. So look at this upper left group. What is a move that threatens the upper left group while indirectly kind of separating these two groups? And there's a couple moves, so I'm not saying the move I played was the correct move per se, but what do you see? What do you think? In the game, I ended up playing d13. And here's the idea with d13. If white says, okay, you didn't answer my shoulder hit, I'm gonna make you pay for that, I'm just gonna extend. Okay, I'm just gonna push again. Okay, I'm gonna extend. And now you can see I'm threatening two things. If white connects here, I've actually captured the upper left, which is huge, which is ginormous. So this is definitely worth it for black. Even though white cut off the stone here. And if white just connects back, then these pushes here have not helped white at all. So, okay, well, what if white plays the elephant eye? Well, okay, I'm going to just push. And if you separate me, okay, again, you capture that stone, but I capture the important stone at g14. So think of and this is with most peeps, think of the peeps as kind of decoys. They're just nuisances for your opponent. To almost kind of distract, but if your opponent's good enough, they'll know what's going on. So it's not really a distraction per se, but it's kind of like, okay, whites, how are you going to answer in this center, the top middle, when you have problems on the left side? So you're really creating problems for your opponent. So in the game, white pushed here and I blocked. This is another possibility for white. If white had cut, I'm just going to Atari and Atari again. Even if white can peep here, with the weakness here, you can see there's just not much white can do. These two stones are very weak. So, yeah. So white pushed and extended up and then attached. So, yeah, and I think the reason why white pushed first is if white had done this immediately, like this, then I could actually turn it around and cut, like so. Because if white connects, then again, I'll be able to capture... Yeah, maybe something like this. Can I capture the right side or the left side? And even if I can't, like white has to push here and then like play this, then again, it goes back to I can capture the main stones or start to surround the main stones on the right side or the top middle. If I simply just want to capture the top two, that's also possible. Yeah, it's also possible. Which again, that's quite big, and white still has weaknesses here. So that's why white pushed up once to prevent any push and cut there. But again, it actually weakened white a little bit, but attach. And again, Normally, attachment shoulder hits are sente, but when you're this strong, you really just want to attack. So what looks like a key shape point for white here? J14. Again, you don't want to just push and cut. That would just be going after a small tail. Because even if you Atari here to try to squeeze like this, you can't assume white cares about these 2 stones now. If you go here, white's going to hane. And whether you take first and let white squeeze like this, which would be very bad, or if you just jump and let white get a few more extra moves, you can see white's out and has reduced you a lot. So yeah, if you have to just keep extending though, like you're giving white forcing moves that are helping white live. So yeah, so instead of pushing and cutting, keep attacking the whole thing. So white fixed, of course. So I extend, and then white haned. But again, I have a very nice move here of being able to push, and that has saved J17. White cannot capture J17 because these 2 stones have only 2 liberties. So I'm able to cap. And so the rest of this game is, can white live up top? White doesn't have a single eye, and that's a problem. Because the other thing is, let's say white tries to separate this upper left somehow, right? Let's just find a way to do that. Let's go here, like this, and then let's say right here, and then something like this, right? The problem for white is you cannot separate or keep black dead in the upper left. Like you don't have a good attack here, because if you Atari like this, black can descend. If you block, Atari, and then cut. Okay, if you Atari this way, then Atari and connect. Again, if you fix here, cut. If you Atari down and then push down, black can just simply connect under. So there's, even if you can separate this from the center, it's not going to matter because black's already alive. So white doesn't even have another group to look at to try to kill. So the white switches to here. And I just block. And then white tries to come out. And then I'm saying no. I could, by the way, just capture the tail, but I'm like, no. No. You are going to pay for trying to invade that deep. So I block here. And the other thing is, this move, I felt helped me a lot because I'm able to play this move. Now, how is this move so valuable? Because I have a knight's move in the center. And there is some aji of white peeping and coming out, and you could see there's like knight's move problems here. Because I have a knight's move in the center, I have a connection issue. But the moment I'm able to play this move, I now have a 1-space jump. So now it's a lot harder to disconnect me. Peep, and then extend, yeah, and you can just see I can still play L16 to cut off white. White is so deep inside. So yeah, this is looking very bad for white. White peeps, and I can play here. A bamboo joint, stay connected while also threatening now. White peeps, jump. And then just play knight's move, or dog face. Because again, it doesn't matter if white can separate me because I'm alive 100% up top. So white tries to surround, but I can push, cut. And again, even if white can maybe live with this kind of variation, the upper left is going to be way too big. Because the thing you have to remember is white invading here has gotten white, let me count really quick, about 0 points, right? White has not gained any points with this. White has only reduced points. So even though white has reduced all the points here, not only have I gained those points back in the upper left, but I've taken away points from white. White had quite a few points in the upper left. So this kind of variation would not be good for white. So white has to play there, but I can push and then cut. Atari. And again, I'm cut off. I'm cut off, but I've also now created, if I need it, a cut at C10. White plays there. Just make a table shape. Hane. And play here. And this is the moment I'm like, okay, now I will cut. And now once I've cut off, it's basically game over for white. There is no way for white to make 2 eyes or even make 1 eye. You can't attack the upper left, and you can't really attack the upper right. Technically, I'm not fully alive yet, but we'll see. Because white needs to connect in the center, I'm able to connect back to my right side. Push. And so the other thing to keep in mind, and again, this is true for all my games, but specifically this one, is I had a time advantage. And so my opponent, I forget exactly how much lower he had, but yeah, he was low on time, to put it simply. So things here look drastic, but it's really because it's all he can really do. So I'll just speed up a little bit because he is just trying to, one, gain back time because it is Fisher time, but also with the top dead, there's not really anything else to do. So yeah, he plays some moves, peep, and then after this, he actually ran out of time. Yeah, he actually ran out of time, but it is a situation where even if he had time with the top dead and white bleeding points everywhere, black was definitely winning. So yeah, I was able to get my revenge from last year, beating the third placer as well, which felt good. Much better than my game last year with Cheuk, so I was very happy with the game. And again, I think early on, it was a very close game. Again, I think the main problem with this game for black, or for white, I mean, is not using the Aji here ever. Not just going here and making these exchanges. White had a lot of chances to do that. And I think that's really it. I obviously white could have played the invasion better. Like again, I would also play a move like this to reduce. But I think the main thing is trying to preserve the Aji of this ko when you could have just made these exchanges and been fine. Would have been a lot better. So yeah, that was my third round game. And not just third round game, that's the final game of the day as well, of this 2-day event. So it was ended up going 2-1 to end the day. But my day was not finished, by the way. At the Midwest Open, first off, I love playing simuls. So when I have a 2-day event where people are just hanging out after the first day, I love doing simuls. So I actually ended up playing, if I can remember, is it 8 people? There's 3 and 2. Yeah, 8 people. And while I couldn't finish all the games because we were actually running low on time, we had to leave the venue, I was doing very well in those games. So the games I won all of them. But the other, I think 3 games technically went to no decision, but I was doing okay in those, I'll say. But yeah, I love doing the simuls, got to meet a lot of people. Super fun way to end the first day. And feeling good about my play too. Again, my main goal of this tournament was to play solidly. My last round, I think I said at the end of the review, not my greatest game, but this game, feeling very confident, feeling very good about this game. So yeah, look forward to my review for round 4. Round 4, by the way, is a very, how should I put it? Has a very crazy ending is how I'll put it. You will not expect the ending, so look forward to that. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments about this game, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next video.